Yeah, I have already shared. Check your email. Yes, share screen. Now, few people are having doubts on data types. How you create a data type of everything, right? Let's do one data type now, and then we will move into the project. For example, go to your Ubuntu, open your Ubuntu. Normally, basically, local warehouse is the default path, right? If you fail to mention location and give the default path, the default path remains the same. It will not be deleted. If it is an external table, it will be present there. I mean, the data will be present there. Okay. Go to your Gmail link. Go to your Gmail. Refresh. I have shared you already in the tenant of the PC. Only empty on yeah. Now you see there is a retail data analysis, right? Download. Now open that and also the other document, right? Transactions underscore practice. Please download that as well. CSV file. Download. Now enable editing. Right? And the first one it says that retail data. What is retail data basically? You go to your demand. It's a retail data. It offers the products and services, not for wholesale, but for retail. Now, if you take, for example, in Aurangabad, we have closely 10 to 15 DMarts, let's assume, surrounding whole district. Now, if the DMart management want to analyze which store is having the highest sales, which store is having the lowest sales, and which store is having the most loyal customers, and which store is having the seasonal trends and everything, they need to get the data, right? So in order to get the data, first of all, they will collect all the transactions that are happening today, all over the 20 DMarts in Aurangabad. Now for every shop, there will be backend server, some database, right, where they store all these transactions, correct? Let us assume that the database is MySQL. Now you have loaded all the transactions, volumes of all transactions into this MySQL database. Now I have implemented Hadoop framework. From RDBMS to Hadoop, what is the tool required to ingest the data? Scoop. So first of all, using Scoop, we will import the data, right? The step one. Now, can you please read that? Retail transactions. Read.
Retail stores daily generate millions of transaction logs.
Yeah.
Analyzing these logs would generate beautiful insights and improve business.
Perfect.
Storing these logs on traditional database would be costly and scalability will be a big challenge. Volume of transactions. Stores like Walmart are spread across different locations. Daily millions of customers visit these stores and generate billions of logs. These billions of logs contribute to huge volume of data. Velocity of transaction. In peak hours, thousands of transactions will happen in any given second. thousands of transactions per second across all stores contribute to high velocity.
Now you see volume, velocity, and what is the next slide?
Variety of transactions. The most widely known varieties of data generated by transactions: JSON format, XML format, CSV format.
Basically, these are the three formats available, right? Now, if you see, we have discussed about the volume part, velocity part, and variety part. Next slide, please. What are the challenges? We know what could be the challenges. It could be storage, it could be scalability, it could be processing, it could be sharing. Next slide. Now, what's the goal for this project? To process these logs overnight as a batch and to understand demand of a given product, trend and seasonality of sales, understand performance of chain, loyal customer identification. So let's analyze. Next slide. Now this is the solution we are providing for this volume, velocity, and variety of data. The data is fully loaded in which database? RDBMS. In our case, the RDBMS is MySQL. Now Scoop HDFS is there. From RDBMS, there are two options. One is to import the data directly to HDFS for further processing, or using Scoop to import the data directly into your Hive. Okay, next slide. Now, this is the transactions data set, how the table is constructed with the columns. Next. Now, if you see here in this slide, there is a comments are given here, right? Control C. Open a notepad. Notepad. Full screen. Control V. Control plus. Now here select database and then create table. We are creating one table called as transactions having the columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 columns are there. So do one thing, go to your MySQL terminal, please. Go to your MySQL terminal. SU space, hyphen space, SD user. Font, control plus. Yes. Now you have a secondary name node manager, right? Clear? Go to your MySQL space, hyphen U, space root, space hyphen P, enter. Show space databases. See, in interviews by default, don't say big data at the rate 1, 2, 3 and everything in passwords. Okay. Right. Okay. Now use training, semicolon, show space tables. Now you have customer table, right? Do one thing, go back to your notepad, copy the transactions table, create table and everything. Control C, right click paste. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Show space tables. Describe transactions. DASC and the transactions. Yes, semicolon. Now you have all the columns, right? Now where to get the data? Now normally if you have limited records, you can do insert into table name values, right? Now in your downloads folder, there is a transactions underscore practice. Once download the document. Right, rename, right click, rename, properties, show properties, show more options, show more options. Now rename, remove that one, only don't use spaces, yeah. Only transactions underscore practice, okay, enter. Now double click on that, double click on that, double click on that. Now how many records are there? How many records are there? One zero four eight 575 means what's the number? 10 lakh, closely 10 lakh records, right? 1 million records. Now we have to import this 1 million records into our MySQL table. So load command also works here. So just go to your notepad. The command you see load data in file, not in path. In SQL you give in file, and then where the file is there into the table transactions, you need to give the delimiter, and then how the lines are terminated with new lines, new next page. Now do one thing, go back to the downloads folder, right click copy, go back to your terminal. Now desktop, I mean minimize this, not VM, the terminals. Right click paste, transactions underscore practice. So go back to your terminal again. Where is the path of this file? In the new terminal. Control Shift plus plus. Control Shift. Now PWD again. Control Shift plus plus. Yes, PWD. You are in home. Data, right? LS7 LTR. Now you have a desktop, right? CD desktop. LS7 LTR. Now you have a transactions underscore practice.csv, correct? WC space hyphen L space T K button. Enter. How many records? 1048575. So you got the exact record count, right? Clear. Upward arrow. Enter. How many records? 1048575. Now you have the complete data set. PWD. Use this path home. Your Deepak desktop. Go back to your notepad. Now, just in place of in file, just copy that. Control V slash. The file name is transactions underscore practice, right? Copy that file name as well if you want. So transactions underscore practice. No. In the terminal, you see the file name is there, right? Transactions underscore practice.csv. Copy this. Right click copy. Go back to your terminal. Notepad. In that you see there is a transactions.csv, right? Instead of transactions.csv, control V. Copy those 3 lines. Control C. Right click, go to your MySQL. Right click, paste, enter. Now what does this output say? MySQL server is running with secure file privilege option, so it cannot execute this statement. Whenever you are loading any file and MySQL is not accepting that, right? What you have to do is go back to your other terminal, go back to your other terminal, I mean, like, there you have opened that file, right? Yeah. Now cd /var /blog, enter, ls-ltr. Now control -1. Hang on. You can see a MySQL hyphen files, right? Under var log, page up slowly, page up slowly. MySQL is there. MySQL hyphen files is there. ls space, enter. So one thing, sudo space hyphen small I, sudo space hyphen small I stands for root, right? Enter. Your password, cd, password, your password, system password. Right. Now you are into root, clear. cd /var /log, enter, ls-ltr. Now you have this page up. Now var lib, go to var lib, cd /var /lib, enter, ls-ltr. Now can you see MySQL hyphen files? Now the MySQL hyphen files is write protected. If you see what is the permissions, 700. Select the file name, MySQL hyphen files, full line. What is the permissions? RWX --. So 700. If I try to do cd space m by tab button hyphen tab button, it will not allow me. Enter, ls-ltr 0. So what I do is I will copy that my transactions underscore practice file to this location. The command is cp space /home. Your Deepak Laga's tab. Next, what is that? DA, capital DA, tab, key tab button. Now dot means to this location, current location. Enter, ls-ltr. Now you have a file given. But what are the permissions for this? Root. But here there is MySQL, right? So chmon space MySQL colon, not semicolon, MySQL space T tab button. Enter, ls-ltr. Okay, give full permission. chmod 777 space T tab button. Enter. Perfect. Now go back to MySQL. Now your file name will be changed, right? Upward arrow. Now in place of home, using left arrow. Yeah. Before transaction underscore practice, remove that home, your username desktop, and then just type var lib MySQL hyphen files /var /lib /MySQL after lib / MySQL hyphen files files. Give an enter. Now all the 1 million records should be transferred to this 5. Records, how many records? 1048575. Select start from transactions limit, transactions table name, transact space limit space 5. Means I'm getting first 5 records. Semicolon enter. Just minimize, control shift plus control shift minus. Again minus, one more minus. One more. Now you have a complete table, right? With ID, chain, and then department, category, company, brand, data one, everything perfectly loaded. Now, how many records are there in this table? 1 million records. You have a table having 1 million records and you have HDFS. So, we need to import, right? What is the import utility we have discussed? Scope, right? So, go back to the other terminal. First, we will do a normal import, okay? Clear. Type scope, exit. It should be SD user. SU space, hyphen space SD user. Enter. Okay. Now, scope. Enter. You have a scoop help, right? Perfect. Now, what you do is scoop import space hyphen connect JDBC colon. Give the command. Tell him the command. That's right. The table name is transactions. Now, if you do not mention any directory, where to scoop import this table? User, HD user, not hype. User, HD user, transactions directory. User name space root hyphen capital T. I will use only one mapper hyphen m space 1. Enter. Target directory if you can mention, or else no issue. Now scoop is trying to connect to the MySQL and running a map reduce job. Sorry. Loading data into MySQL. Queries you will use load input. For example, go back to the Chrome. Load in file. Type in file. Load in file plus MySQL. Enter. First, click on that first one. Full screen. Slowly drop down. Hang on. The load in file command provides several flexible options to load various formats of data from text file to tables. Here we are loading CSV file, right? Now control plus. Now what are those basic example to load data from text file? Upload data using fields terminated by. We have done that only, right? I'll show you. Now upload data using enclosed by. Use escape character. Now slowly drop down. Basic example is you have a text file like this, tab separated. By default, the load data file command uses which tab limiter? Tab delimiter. Now first go to the database when you want to upload the text file, where you want to upload. In this example, we will upload the above example employee1.txt file to the employee table located under my stuff database. Slowly drop down. Use the database name. The following MySQL command will load the records from the above employee text file to the employee table shown below. This command doesn't use any extra options. What simply load data in file employee.txt into table name because you are working with a default tab limiter. For example, next down. Next. Tab, yeah, but tab A, tab B, different tabs. Tab A means it has a 10,000, like how to show that? While in CloudX Lab, I will show you difference between normal tab and tab A. Okay. Now this is upload the data using fields terminated by option. Here you have a comma separated, right? Drop down to upload the above example. During the upload, using the fields terminated option, you can specify. Now you see load data in file, the file name into table fields terminated by comma. But in our case, it is an Excel sheet, right? Slowly drop down. Still. Wait. Now let's see whether in Excel, control F Excel, or EXCL, no, right? CSV, not CSV. Only CSV. Yeah. Now here you see, if you are using a CSV file to upload, copy that into Notepad. Control C. Go to the Notepad. Control V. After this one break, enter. Then try this. Now, if you are using a CSV file to upload data to table, what are the options you should use? Try one of this. Lines terminated by \or rows, or lines terminated by single quotes \r and \n, new line. So every row, new line. Now our command, if you see, load data in file, the file name into table. Here we are using fields terminated by comma, and then we are using lines terminated by \r, \n. We are by default, what's the file name? MySQL uses text file, right? With tab delimiter, but we are using a CSV file, right? So in order to tell SQL that this is not a text file, and then here you need to load the data properly into your table without any null values. Why we are using these delimiters and everything? In order to avoid null values only, right? If you do not mention comma, delimiter, lines terminated, what happens? The file will be loaded, but null values. In order to avoid null values, we are using this, right? Now back to our Ubuntu again. What is that? Double quotes. I think open your Excel sheet. What is there? By loading the strings, normally what we are doing, insert into values double quotes, right? For each field. So we are inserting that enclosed by. Here there is any values, right? For these values, basically every row will be enclosed with double quotes. We are telling to the MySQL. Okay. Now, coming back to our Ubuntu, your job is done. How much it took? 57.5235 MB in 29 seconds. Means half minute. How many jobs are retrieved? 1048575. Now you tell me where I need to check this. Where I need to check this? In HDFS? DFS, give. HDFS, hyphen ls. If you give enter, don't give / enter, default path. You have a transaction table. Now upward arrow, transactions. Don't give / only transactions. Transactions is nothing but user is the user. Okay. Transactions. Enter. Perfect. You have a part hyphen m hyphen 50. Only one mapper. Go back to the Mozilla Firefox. Mozilla Firefox. Localhost 50070. Localhost 50070. Yeah. Browse the file system. Now you have wait. It will display all this data. Slowly drop down user, SD user, and then transactions. Click on the transactions. Now you have a part hyphen m hyphen 50. Click on that. It will ask you whether to tail or head. Head the first, and then it will give the all first 320 KB of data. If you do the last tail, it will show you the tail data. Go by upward tail 32 KB. It is showing last details. Now you have a data box, but we have a scoop hive input as well, right? Scoop hive input also. How scoop hive input is doing? It is using options like hive import, create hive table. Under hive, what is the database dot table name? Right? Go back to that. Go back to that terminal, please. Till now, everybody clear, right? Okay. Now, fine. Remove this. Remove this. HDF. How to remove this directory in HDFS? HDFS, DFS, hyphen RMR, right? Perfect. Good. Transactions. Transactions. Simply transactions. Now, just give upward arrow. Nothing, right? Nothing. Enter. The transactions will be gone. Now, clear. You can either log into Beeline or Hive. Just log into Hive, HAV Hive, server 1. Hive server means Hive, right? Enter. We are giving in bash RC, right? Why we are giving in bash RC? When I'm giving any related commands to Hive, export path equals to path dollar hive underscore home slash bin, right? So whenever hive related command is executed, it will redirect to the path user local hive bin, and then it will do that. Show space databases, semicolon, enter. Now you have default hive postal test training, right? Show space tables means default database only I'm doing, right? Nothing is there. Now what I do is go back to our document, please. I mean retail document, the project document, PPT. Yeah. Loading data to MySQL is done. Next page. They remove this big latter part. Enter. Next line. Next slide. Okay. Enter. Next slide. And next slide. This is the analysis. Next slide. Next slide. Next. Again. Till Hive. Wait. Now we are doing the analysis using Hive. Now what are the tools we have in Hive? We have Hive functions, and then we have Hive partitioning, Hive bucketing. Correct? Next page. Now here you see scoop data into Hive. Copy these lines. You see I am giving the comments beside. So starting from this, Control C. Go back to your document. Now enter. Next line. Control V. Scoop data from MySQL to Hive. Scoop import connect JDBC MySQL localhost training. and it is using username root. Just in place of training, give root hyphen capital K. Remove that hyphen and again just give hyphen. Next, what is the table we are importing? Transactions. We are asking a Hive import. Now here we are not mentioning any one column or two columns. Earlier we have taken only two columns, right? Now full table, Hive table. What's the table name? Give transactions, only transactions. They remove that staging and everything. Or transactions underscore temp. Transactions underscore temp. Like temp India. Okay, let's see. Now hyphen M1, copy these 5 lines. Control C. Huh? If you are not mentioning anything, it will take the default. Hive import, Hive table is there, right? Hyphen Hive table. Wait. Yes, you can. Now here you see what are the options scope is having. Exit, semicolon. Now if you type scope, import, space, hyphen help, I am having all the options related to Hive, right? Hive arguments. What are the Hive arguments? You can use create Hive table, Hive database, you can mention. Okay, and then Hive delimiters, drop, Hive home, Hive import. So here you can use multiple options. The one that we have imported is we have exclusively mentioned a database, and then like here we are not using all the full commands. Simply I'm just using Hive import. I'm telling Hive import is mandatory, right? And then it is asking to create a Hive table. Copy that. And copy all those. Control C. Later we will import to next database. No problem. Let's see whether the command is working or not. Just go. In the yeah, not in this scoop command, right? And clear. Control Shift plus plus. Control Shift plus plus. Right click paste. After this, we will use our scoop installation commands also, and then we will import a separate table. Let's see how it works. Okay. Now scoop should import all these 1048 575 records into default database in Hive with a table name transactions underscore temp. Okay, let's see. Now it is importing Hive import. Perfect. Okay. Loading data to table default dot transactions underscore. If you see default dot, because I have not given any database name, right? So it is by default taking the default database dot transactions underscore temp. Okay. Now clear. Go to your Hive. Show space tables. Enter. Now you have a transactions underscore temp. Control L. Show space, create space, create space, table, transactions underscore practice. Transactions underscore practice. PRACTI practice. Semicolon enter. Temp, sorry, not practice. Temp. Transactions underscore temp. Enter. Now if you see the comment, can you see the comment? Imported by scope on 2nd of May. It is clearly given. Now select start, control L, control L, control L. Select start from transactions underscore 10, limit 5. Transactions underscore 10, space limit, space 5, semicolon enter. Now here you see, unlike MySQL, you don't have the headers for a table, right? Now you have a data set. Now just relate this to postal. By analyzing the postal data, what we have done first, we have created this partition. We have created a temp underscore India data, right? To that temp underscore India, 65,998 records were added. Now this is a transactions underscore temp where you have all the columns and you have all the data. Now, if I want to slice this table into partitions or bucketing, I need to first use the create a table, right? Partition table or bucketing table. For that, I can use static or dynamic. In order to work on your 1 million records, static partitions are not recommended, correct? Because you cannot add partitions for any chain data or any other location data manually, right? So we need to enable dynamic partition. What is the command to enable dynamic partition? Set hive dot execute dot dynamic dot partition equals to true, and then mode should be non-strict. Enforce dot bucketing should be equals to true. Go back to the document, detailed document. Next slide. Partitioning and bucketing in Hive will let you do the queries fastly or for faster querying. For dynamic partitioning, load the data into the staging table, what we have already done. Now create a production table, means a partition table, and insert data. Table to table insert, right? Next slide. Copy those 3 lines, copy those 3 lines into your notepad. 4 lines. Starting copy. Into notepad, Control C. Next line, enter, Control V. Now what are this? Partitioning and bucketing. What are the parameters? Hive dot enforce dot bucketing equals to true. Hive dot execute dot dynamic dot partition equals to true. Hive dot execute dot dynamic mode equals to non-strict. Copy those 3 lines and paste it into your notepad. Hive terminal. Right click, paste. Enter. Bucketing doesn't exist, it says, but it will work. Now we need to create a partition table. Describe transactions underscore temp. Describe transactions underscore temp. How many rows are there? Tell me. Transactions underscore temp. Semicolon enter. ID, chain, department, category, company, brand, date 1, and you have a product size, product measure, purchase quantity, purchase amount. Closely 10 or 11 columns are there. 11, right? Now if I want to do, say for example, partitioned by ID, how to create a table? Anyone? The column name I am doing to partition is ID, for example. How to create a partition table? Create table name, and then columns. First of all, I will ignore ID, and then I will take the rest of the columns partitioned by ID, so and so. If I want to use bucketing as well, if I clustered by ID, how many buckets? 5, 4, 6, 7, depending upon the size. Now, question to you. Suppose, case 1, I have created a table with partitioning. Now, yesterday 39 locations, right? For example, here chain is there, right? 50 chains are there. I am partitioning by the column chain. Now, after loading the data from 1 million records to this newly created partition table, how many partitions will be created? 50. 50 directories will be created. Till there, understood, right? Now, what if I add clustered by ID into 5 buckets. Five files. So every directory will be having how many files? 50 directories will be created with no bucketing. Now let's see what happens if I use partitioning and bucketing. How the data will be stored in this 5 files? Let's see. Go back to
What is the IOs multi-column partition?
yeah, it will done. It will done. First we are doing one file, but different locations will be created. One file, but 2 different locations. For example, year, month, date. Year, month, date. 2022. I am creating or I am partitioning the table on year and month. Then what you will get? First of all, 2022 directory, year, and then subdirectory, months. Months means April, one directory. May, June, July. So it will be easy for me for creating subdirects, or else on 2022 only one partition will be there. If I use multi-column and state and year, year and month, then first year will be created, year will be 2022 only one, but months will be 12 directories will be created. Correct? Yeah, someone will raise.
Sir, bucket and partitioning. Bucket consists of partitioning or is totally different?
First and foremost understandable point is a partition is nothing but a directory. A bucket is nothing but a file. Under a directory, again a files will be there. Right? You understand? A file means file, simple. Now you are doing a partition. First of all, 10 partitions are there. 10 directories. Under 10 directories, 10 files. Simple. Now forget about partition, only bucketing. Now I am creating 3 buckets or 10 buckets. Instead of 10 directories, 10 files, I am having only 10 files. All this data, if you see, 1 million records or 65,000 records are added into 5 files or 10 files. Only bucketing, if I am saying. And in every bucket, there should be data. And how this data is organized, depending upon the hash function of the particular column. Depending upon the number of buckets you are using, this 65,998 will be divided by this number 3 or 4. Suppose 60,000, for your understanding, 60,000 records are there, and I am creating 4 buckets. So 15,000 records should be placed in first bucket, 15,000 second bucket, third, fourth. In 60,000, which are all divided by 3 and getting 0, will be go to the first bucket. So there could be 1 to 60,000 records, right? In that, first say for example, 100 records belongs to Maharashtra. In that 100, it will not go there, right? All the zeros, which are goes to hash functioning, goes to bucket 0. Now the same thing applies here, and see how it is divided. Okay. Now go back to your document, please. First, remember one thing: bucket means directory. Sorry, partitioning means directory. Bucketing means files. Okay. Now, next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Create this table into the notepad first. First, copy this table into the notepad. Control C. Now, enter, Control V. Now, what is this table is having? If you see, create table. Column 1, column 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have taken 10 columns, and now you see partitioned by on which column? Chain. Clustered by ID. How many? 5 buckets. Now row format delimited, fields terminated by stored as text file. Copy this, please. Copy this, please. Table. Now, where do these 5 files will be created? Let us see. Under chain 1 or chain 2. First of all, see. Control C. Right click, paste. What's the table name here? Now, what type of table it is?
Managed.
Managed. So, where to this location?
User
User, type, warehouse, And the database name default or what's the database we are using? Default only, right? Okay, no problem. So enter. Go back to that Mozilla Firefox. User Hive warehouse. Go back. Click. Go back again. Yeah. Hive warehouse. Wonder. Now you see you have two tables without any databases because you have set default. One is transactions underscore temp having all the 1 million records, transactions production, new partition table. Click on the production. Nothing is created because you have not loaded. Now go back to the terminal. Show space partitions. Show space partitions. Transactions underscore production. Semicolon enter. Nothing is there. Now, where is this location? Describe space formatted. What's the table name? Transactions underscore production. Production, not productions. Production. Enter. Now the location is user Hive warehouse. Now go to that location, please. User Hive warehouse. In Hadoop, right? One second. Go back to that. In HDFS also, you can do that, but you don't do it real time. Shift one. Hadoop FS hyphen ls space /user /hive /warehouse semicolon. Enter. It will connect to the Hadoop file system and then it will give you the data. In Hive shell also you can describe, but don't do this and in production. But for your own practice you can do. Right now you see you have all the terminal. Right now upward arrow /warehouse/ transactions underscore production. Transactions spelling transactions underscore production semicolon. Nothing will be there because you have not loaded the data yet, right? Enter. Now let's do a table to table load. Notepad from main table, staging table to this table. Insert override table, transactions underscore production, and then we are doing a partition. If you are not mentioning anything, is dynamically, right? We are simply doing chain. Now select ID, all the numbers and last chain from now. Copy this command. All from insert from. Or else do up to select do. Yeah, copy, paste it. Let's see what is this data. Right click, paste. Enter. Staging not temp, right? Upward arrow. Do one. Go back to the notepad. In place of staging, give temp. TEMP temp. Now copy this command from select. Control C. Remove this. Yeah, right click, paste. Enter. Now you are having all the records. These records you are now loading to which file? Which table? Transactions underscore production, right? But this will be divided as chains. Suppose there are chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, like plus 10 chains. 10 partitions will be created, right? Correct? Let's see. 50,000, 60 lakhs, 70 lakhs, 80. Both. You cannot say that maximum will do like that. According to the client requirement, they will ask, first of all, they will tell the requirement. See, we have this file and we are going to implement this partitioning technique on this to get the results. The client will say, now as a team, what we do is, okay, what are the columns you will be using in the table? He says that I have 10 columns and I have this format. Now you need to create a table as per the client requirement, right? You cannot go and create the table as per your wish. You need to ask what delimiter you are using. Everything information will be given by the clients in the calls. See, we are having this table and we need to be built in this environment. So you create a table and then you load the data. Then you say to the client that, okay, then your data is there. Now the next step, what we want to analyze. What is the best technique? Partitioning or bucketing, or can we use both the techniques? So depending upon the requirement and the data set they are using, you need to give the solution. See, if you are using partition, these are the outcomes. If you are using bucketing, now we can do this. Using both these techniques, you can do. Now the client will decide. Okay. Next, clear, control L. Now paste the command. Notepad, yeah, 3 lines, full 3 lines. Insert override table. Now, once this data is loaded, the partition should be created, right? Right click, paste, enter. Perfect. Now it is running a job, right? And then it should create a partitions for your table. Map 0%, reduce 0%, and then map 100%. Now reduce phase should start. What is that? What is that? Number of reducers? 1. Stage 1. If you see stage 1, in stage 1, how many stages it is going, you need to check the job. Stage 1, how many mappers it is using, how many reducers it is using. Stage 2, for the partitioning and bucketing. Total job is taking how many stages, you need to say. Number of registers determined at the compile time. Means it is checking for the reducers used by this job. Because you are doing some aggregations type, right? Reducers come into phase only when you are sorting or you are adding or you are doing any operations on the mapper output. You are using, one second. Yeah, tell me. Total jobs, how many? Please, you need to observe the job page of pages. Once it is done, reduce 100% is done, then we can discuss. Once the mapper phase is done, then the reducer phase, right? Pages slowly down. Okay. Total jobs, how many? 1. Page up. Okay. Now here you see, we are given the query and the query ID is total jobs only 1. Okay. Launching job out of 1. Number of registers decided at the compile time 5. In order to change the average, okay. Next. Story drop down. Hang on. Now, Hadoop job configuration for stage 1. Number of mappers, 1 it is taking. Now, in a map reduce programming, there are 3 phases. First is mapper, second is short and shuffle, and third is reducer. Map reduce will take the input from each mapper will work according to the splits. There is a concept called splits. Okay, so who is that? Before understanding that, you need to understand the split concept. Basically, splits, I'll tell you, logical representation of data. Okay. As blocks are physical representation of data, while processing the data, the job tracker or resource manager will first of all calculate the file size. If it is 128 MB or greater than 128 MB. If it is greater than 128 MB, then it will check how much is the split I needs to get from the other block, which will be considered as the logical representation. So according to that, it will calculate the mappers, which will be input to the map page. In this case, the data input split size is only one, so that's why it is taking only one mapper to run that whole job. But for reducing purpose, it is creating partitions and bucketing, right? It is taking 5 reducers because 5 buckets we have taken, right? Clustered by how many buckets? 5 buckets, right? So it is using one reducer for each bucket. You're following? All the input data it is running with one mapper, but for the output to create 5 buckets, it is using 5 reduced tasks. You understand it? Now, slowly drop down, check whether your job is completed or not. It is taken by the framework. The splits, for example, once this is done, I'll tell. Remember one thing before map reduce, they will ask you one important question. This I will cover in map reduce. Blocks, splits. While running the jobs, I asked you to remember that, right? How many splits? How many splits? I used to ask you, please remember this word splits, right? You remember or not? I know. So splits is basically a logical representation of data. Depending upon the number of splits, for example, you check the scoop job. I can show you the splits. Scoop job. Yeah, click on this now. Do one thing. CD / USR / local / Hadoop / share SHR share enter ls-ltr CD Hadoop enter ls-ltr. Now you have a map reduce, right? CD map reduce enter ls-ltr. Now you have a Hadoop map reduce examples, right? Let's do one thing. Clear. Type yarn space jar space Hadoop hyphen map tab button tab button pi space 2 space 2. Before entering this, go to the other job whether it is completed or not. Reduce space 100% done. Now it is tracking at 40%, right? So we'll do one thing. Don't kill job. Yeah, it is running, I guess. 1 second. It's running slowly. Now if I give this comment 2, now number of maps, how many? 2. Now you can see the word splits here. How many splits are there? Total input files to process 2. So number of splits decide the number of mappers. If there are 10 input splits, how many mappers will be running? 10 mappers. Each input split is again an input to mapper. Very important entry question. Okay. So while running the job, you need to check how many splits the job is considering. Right. You cannot determine the splits the framework takes, but you can restrict the reducers. In my program, I need only 1 reducer. You can restrict. In my program, I want only 5 reducers. You can restrict, but you cannot restrict the mappers because it all depends upon the number of splits the job tracker or the resource manager is calculating. So before going to map reduce, it will be again confusing for you this. So in the map reduce tomorrow I'll tell you. Yeah. Yes, you can go to here. Localhost colon 8088. And what is the resource manager web UI? 8088. Click on this 8088. Localhost colon 8088. Colon 8088. Enter. What are all the jobs here running now? Now here you see one is running in state, one is in accepted state. And then if you see how many apps are submitted, 4. How many apps are completed? 2. 2 jobs are running. One app running, one is pending. Because our Hive query is taking more time, right? It is taking the resources. So the Pi job is in waiting state. If you see, it is in accepted, but the resources are not enough to start the job. Here it is running. Click on that 003. Running container 6 are there. Click on the second job. Now slowly drop down, slowly drop down. Yep. Now here you see how much amount of memory is allocated to this, and then still the job status. What is the job status? Page up slowly. Can you see the job status? Still running. Application state running, right? Still the AMA has been registered with RM and started running. Still the AMA is running. So let's see if you provide more resources, right? Yesterday I asked you to do one command, right? Set map.reduce.task equals to 4. In the yesterday notepad, bucketing function not working is I asked you to copy 2 comments. What is this? Yesterday's class notebook, please open. Some set map.reduce.task equals to 4, something will be there. Page up slowly. Yeah, hang on. Set map.reduce.task equals to 4, for example, control C. Go to here. And again, this is right. I'm just giving control C. Kill space. Yarn application. Write down this command also. Yarn application hyphen kill 9. Give this application ID. Right click, copy, right click, paste. So in place of job, just give application. Means you are forcefully killing the pending application. The command name is yarn application hyphen kill. 9 is forceful kill. So the application ID. Then if you see enter, it says that the job is killed. Connecting to resource manager, exception in thread. Give JPS. Give JPS. You have a resource manager is there, app is there. Node manager is not there, right? Where is the node manager? Hadoop hyphen. That's why you know Hadoop hyphen daemon.sh start node manager. Node manager. That's why you know if the process is hanging, you need to check whether JPS node manager running start hyphen yarn.sh. Now JPS node manager is running, right? Now let's see this whether the job, whether now it will run or not. Just go to here, refresh yarn application and then refresh accepted state, waiting for container again, accepted, refresh. Application has not completed yet, right? How much GB you have given? This RAM, yeah, 4 GB. Sometimes you know it needs more RAM. Let's see. Okay, now here you say again, it's starting because the node manager has been started, right? So let's see. Go to the other terminal and give JPS. Now yarn child jobs MR AppMaster is running all the secondary name node manager, resource manager, JPS. Okay, it is running. Alt tab. Now mapper 100% is done. Let's see. Register page again. Again JPS. Upward arrow. Enter. Now again you see how many child jobs are running here? One, where's the cursor? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Means 5 reducers are running. So 5 yarn child jobs are running. Means 5 containers it is launching to process. Again JPS now you see again hand manipulation. Wait, wait. I think the memory is not enough to run this job. Let's wait. You can do that. The scheduler will take place. I mean, whatever scheduler you are using in the framework, we have a capacity scheduler and phase scheduler. What are all the jobs that you are submitting? Okay. Capacity scheduler means the application teams will be using a concept called queues, whereas phase scheduler means the application teams will be using a concept called pools. Okay. Queues and pools. So JPS again, it's running. I think this is issue with your RAM and nothing other to do. 12:20, right? Let's take a quick break and then once it is done, we will move into the analyzing part. But you understood the concept, right? How to import the data into your scope using scope, and then how to import the data into Hive, then how to create partitioning tables, bucketing tables, and how to load. You understood, right? So once it is done, we can check how many partitions are created, and under each partition, how many files are created, right? You guys have Amazon EC2? Yes. Perfect. Stop share, stop share. Stop share. Share the screen. Share screen. Now GPS. Now you have all the 5 demons, right? Okay. Do one thing. Uh, Clear. Go back to your Mozilla Firefox. Localhost 50070. Localhost 50070. Localhost 50070. And then utilities. Browse the file system. What is the table name? Production, right? Transaction underscore production, right? User, hive, warehouse, transactions underscore production. Yeah. There is only stage because you have completed the query in between, right? So there is no improper file created. Okay. Give a try in your mission whether it is partitions are created or not. Otherwise, we will retry or else I will evening try on my mission and then I will show you the partitions and then we'll do the further analysis. Okay. Now what you do is open the notepad, please. Open the notepad, please. Okay, fine. This one. Terminal. Now, JPS, name node, data node, secondary name node, node manager, resource manager. Go to the path where your Hadoop is installed, cd /usr /local /Hadoop, share, enter, ls-ltr, ls-ltr, ls-ltr. Now you have a cd Hadoop, enter, ls-ltr. Now you have a map reduce, right? Go to map reduce, cd map reduce, enter, ls-ltr. Now you have a Hadoop hyphen map reduce hyphen client, right? Let's do one thing. Yarn yarn space jar space Hadoop hyphen map reduce hyphen Hadoop hyphen map reduce hyphen examples ex tab button. Now type enter. It will have all the jar files, right? Now is there word count program if you see last fifth one word count. A word count, a map reduce program that counts the words in the input files. Means, for example, Axis Bank is there. Every day, Axis Bank, some thousands of customers will be having their own queries, and it's the bank responsibility to check no fraud is happening in the bank, right? In any ways. So, if the bank wants to analyze the emails or the questions from the customers having the word fraud, then how do they do? The starting point, like if you want to learn any new language, Hello World is the basic program, right? In MapReduce also, the starting program, basic program you need to understand of a MapReduce technique is word count program. So what is word count program? A word count program, other than this functional programming, likewise, it uses a mapper phase and a reducer technique to count the words in a given line or in a given paragraph or in a given data set. How do this happen? Let's see. Now upward arrow, clear control arrow, yeah, space word count, WORD COUNT, word count, enter. Now it is asking control clear. In path and out path, right? Okay, fine. Now the MapReduce programming takes the input from HDFS. So let's create one file. Now do one thing. In a new window. control shift plus plus, control shift plus plus, su space hyphen space sd user, hyphen space sd user, enter Hadoop. Okay. Now pwd sudo nano data1 enter. For example, apple apple space orange space hello space hi space, for example, after hi again next line again repeats few words, hello space hi space orange. Just give a 6 to 7 lines like that. Okay, yeah, next line again, give any word. You have so many words that give your name, like that. Give the names, for example, Hadoop you have so Hadoop space hive space mr space data space apple. Next line Hadoop hello, don't give com, Hadoop hello hello. Next line hi, next orange orange hello. This is one file. Control X y enter cat can space data1 enter. Now you have a file in local file system. I want to place this file in HDFS. What's the command? Put command Hadoop fs hyphen put space slash home slash hd user data1 space data1 enter. Where do this data1 located? User hd user data1, right? Hadoop fs hyphen lsr enter. You have a data1, right? Do you see data1? Hadoop fs hyphen cat space data1 enter. Now you have a data set. I will take this input to the WordCount program, because for running a pie job you are giving some two samples and everything. Most of you are not understanding. Now let us run a math program by giving this input, and output directory also should be different, right? So go back to the other window, upward arrow, enter. Now what is the input? It is asking usage word count space in and out. In is nothing the input file path, out is nothing but output file path. So upward arrow space, where is our HDFS location? Data1 space output directory. I want to store this output into data out enter. Now let's see what is happening. Submitting job, running jobs. Let's see whether any jobs are running, whether the type job is still running or not. Let's see. Localhost colon 8088 localhost colon 8088, because you need to kill this job, otherwise the job will run in the background. Now here it is say still running, right? So in that case what you do is copy this job name, right click. No, it's word count only, right? No issues. Name word count, right? So running undefined 2 containers running. So just done. Your job is done. If you go here, refresh, you need to check the status, final status always should be succeeded. Then your job is done. Now go back to the terminal where you should see data out. Wonderful. So HDFS, DFS, HDFS, DFS, space data out hyphen ls space after ls give a space data out. Enter. Now you have a success and R hyphen 5 zeros. Till now you have discussed about part hyphen M hyphen 5 zeros. Now what is the output you see now? R hyphen 5 zeros. R stands for reducer. So one reducer is there here. Mapper output is sent to reducer and reducer output gives R. In scope only part hyphen M hyphen 5 zeros you are seeing. SDFS, DFS, SDFS, DFS, hyphen ls, now hyphen cat, copy the enter line, data out, part hyphen, right click, paste, enter. Now you see, starting from your ascending order, how many words you have used in the file, it is giving. Apple twice, data 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Hadoop, and then hello, hey, hi, again hi, Yaman, orange, pine, vertex, scan. This is for a small data set. Now let's take somewhat big data set. Pseudo nano, data 2, pseudo nano, data 2. Enter. Open your Chrome, open your Chrome. Hang on. Copy these lines. The following couple of points can be keep down, still down. Hang on. Up to, or else you can change anything. Any type Google. Go to Google. Just type any Aurangabad or Projon. Huh? So click on Trojan Mall is there, right? Aurangabad, click on that. You need some data. Slowly drop down. Is there any data associated with it? Only clicks. One second. Down. No data, right? Paste back. Yeah, the test telling IBM. Yeah, what is that? Huh? IBM Wikipedia. Give that IBM Wikipedia. IBM Wikipedia. Yeah. Now click on that IBM jobs, thousands of jobs on Indeed. Down. Yeah, give me sometimes. Now you're happy, right? Wonderful. Now just copy these two paragraphs. For example, Control C. Go back to your Ubuntu. Right click, paste. Control X, Y, enter. CAT cat data to. Now this is the simple file we are taking. Now let's see how MapReduce works and how these boards are arranged. Okay. Now the file is in data 2, right? First of all, you need to place this in HDFS. So Hadoop fs hyphen put home is the user slash what is the file name? Data 2 space data. Yeah, data 2. Enter. HDFS DFS hyphen ls. Enter. default path, right? So data 2 you should see. HDFS DFS hyphen cat, HDFS DFS space hyphen cat, data 2. Enter. It should give the IBM Wikipedia part. Okay. Now, other terminal. The important point you need to understand while running the map reduce job is earlier you have given one job, right? Yarn job, the job name, the data input is data 1, right? Yesterday you have given, I mean the above job. Now you have an IBM data 2. I am giving the same output directory. What happens? Tell me. Huh? What does it say? Simple. Already exists, because if the directory already exists, it will not write any data. Hadoop write once, read many times. We have discussed it so many times. So let's do now another thing. Okay, now I am giving wrong file name. I am giving data 20 and new directory name 20. Let's see what happens now. It will check for the input file path. Is data 20 existed? No, right? So again, if we throw an exception saying that input directory, you are having input path does not exist. So while running a map reduce job, 2 points you need to understand. One is the input path should be provided correctly. The job will now check the input path. Then the output directory it will check. Whether the same output directory exists already, it will not run the job saying that target directory already exists. The same fundamental principle, write once, read many times. Right. Now we are giving a new job. What's the data 2, right? Data 2. Data 2. Okay. Data out 2. Okay. Now map 0%, reduce 0%. Map 100, reduce 0. Map 100. Now where you should see clear. Where you should see the output. Data 2, right? Yeah. SDFS DFS hyphen LS space data 2. Sorry. It's simple. Data out or data 2. Data out 2. Yeah, data out 2. Enter. You have a success message and again reducer. SDFS DFS hyphen cat. SDFS DFS hyphen cat. HDFS DFS hyphen cat space copy the data to part hyphen r 5 zeros. Right click copy. Enter. Page up slowly. So from starting with the page, it will check for the capitals, small letters, and what are the recurring alphabets and everything, and then the map reduce technique is giving the output in the form of a key and its respective value, right? If you take the string as a key, its respective value is the count, the integer, right? So here drop down the reducer phase will count all those words. Drop down. See 2, 8. All these aggregations will be done in map reduce phase. So what you do is go back to your Chrome. Hadoop map reduce Hadoop map reduce pages. Hadoop map reduce pages. Hadoop map reduce pages. PHASES pages. Enter. But go to Google and do not on Microsoft Bing. Go to Google and then type Hadoop map reduce pages. Hadoop map reduce pages. You click on that Google. You have Hadoop map reduce pages. Pages. Enter. Perfect. Write down map reduce. This. Write down all of them. Side heading map reduce. Side heading map reduce. Map reduce program executes. Map reduce program executes in 3 stages. Map reduce program executes in 3 stages. Namely map stage. Can you please write down these 3 lines? You read that. Map reduce 3 stages. What are the 3 stages? Mapper, reduce, and now you have a AWS, right? Open your AWS login. AWS login. AWS Web Console. AWS Web Console. Google. Now I will give you a small task to you. Do you know how to connect to AWS EC2? How to do that? Tell me. You log into your username. Okay. Now hang on. Password. Give the password. Okay. In the new page. In the new page. Open. Okay. You're starting right. Hang on. EC2. Now here, check your location. Mumbai is your location, right? Very important thing is, if you are not running your mission, immediately you should stop. I have seen few students who kept on, okay, running the missions. Okay, so that is very, very problematic for you. Okay. Okay. Now, there is one mission, right? Connect to that mission. That is a Red Hat mission or what? Huh? Do one thing. Instance state, start, instance state, start, refresh. I guess everyone knows how to log in and access the instance, right? So if, for example, you have launched one instance p2.micro, and again, just keep on refreshing. Running, but status checks are very, very important. Status checks. In the security group, if you remember, while launching the instance, it will ask you create a security group, right? In that security group, in order to install Hadoop on your mission, now refresh. You need to set few properties, inbound rules and outbound rules. Let me show you that. Refresh. Statistics, if you see still initializing, it should show 2x2 checks completed. Refresh. Refresh. Two by two checks, right? Now select the mission. Hang on. Now public IP is there, right? Copy that. Go to Putty. You have installed Putty, right? Putty and Putty Jan. How to create a PPK file, right? From PAM file, you need to create to PPK. So Putty, yes. Open the tab. Control B there. Host name. Control B. Control B IP address. You have copied, right? Now under SSH, you need to have this on. Under browse the PPK file name. This one, right? Open. Now accept. Now this is a Red Hat, right? So I think it should be EC2 or which one? Username? EC2, right? Next, login as, give your EC2 hyphen user, EC2 hyphen user, enter. Next, what is that? Bash not found. Okay, now host name, HOST host name, HOST host name, enter. Host name space hyphen F, fully qualified domain name. Okay, next. Type Java, Enter. Java is not installed here. Okay. Now sudo space apt update, sudo space apt space update. Enter. Not apt. Sudo space yum update. Sudo space yum space update. Because it's a Red Hat machine, right? You need to use yum. Yum. Now, yes, why? The internet will be very fast in your EC2 instances. Okay. Knowing EC2, Azure, and new technologies, Python will give you a lot of advantage. There is a lot of demand for all these technologies. So if you can work the 6 months, as I told you, every day 1 hour or 1.5 hour, definitely you will be placed into very good companies with very handsome salary. Okay. First learn the technology, salary automatically will come. Now enter. Okay, it's doing that. Can you install Hadoop 3 on this EC2 instance? Can you install Hadoop 3 on this machine? Yes. You can try. You have a lot, say for example. What is this Red Hat instance name? Once it is installed, how to check the version of a Red Hat? What is the command to check the version of a Red Hat? Huh? etc Red Hat underscore release, right? We need to know the underscore. No SQL. Now say for example, this is 7, I guess, 7 or 8 RH here. 7 or 8 means 7 version or 8 version you have selected. We can check this from the tags. Details is there, right? Let's see here. So here, statistics, done, storage, networking, security. The inbound and outbound rules you have given here are, you can see from this. Okay, outbound rules, if you see 22 only you have given TCP IP. You can also edit that, or else you can create a new instance. Now go back to this terminal. Yes. Yeah. 76. Not number 77 is there, right? This is 7776. And after that 76. 76. That's it. Okay, now here it is saying that Network error. Your putty is inactive. Restart session. EC2 hyphen user. So I think PPK file is wrong. Go to putty. Control B. On. Browse. MyABT. Open. Why this? Host does not exist. Oh, sorry. Connect. Putty. Control B. SSH. Colors. Yeah. Open. Appearance. Change. You can use 18 or 20. Okay. Next. Open. EC2 hyphen user. Enter. Okay. Now let's do one thing. cat slash etc red hat underscore yeah. Now what you do is launch Ubuntu. The step one. All of you. Let me check how many will complete this. Launch Ubuntu on a new t2.micro and then security group SSH 2020 is there. Anytime custom will be there. So click on anytime. What is that? One second. If you see here, net problem. Where is this AWS? Open that. Connect. Close this. Yeah. Now select that IP address. Select IP. Connect to the putty. Yeah. Restart. On top of that, restart session. EC2 hyphen user. Enter. Now cat space slash etc slash red hat tab. I enter. You have a 8.5. This is 8.5. Now let us see how to install Hadoop 3 plus EC2 RHEL 8. Let's check whether how to install Hadoop. But you are having EC2, right? First of all, how to install Hadoop on RHEL? Yes, there is one site. Wonderful. Now control plus. Now you see how to install Hadoop on RHEL 8. Install the Oracle JDK. First you are into root, right? Sudo space hyphen small I. Now we need to install this. Control C. So first of all, you need to download, I guess, one second. Install the Hadoop with RPM. Download Hadoop or creating the directories. let me show you with simple side where the Java, or else let's do one thing. Java installation plus RHEL 8. How to install? Google install Java 8, right? Plus RHEL 8. How to install Java 8 and Red Hat on Linux 8? Sudo space yum install or yum install you are doing Java 8 something like that. Control C. Go to the terminal. Right click. WL, right? Or 1. Right? It's trying to install. Okay. Now Red Hat upgrade infrastructure. Unable to find a match. Okay, fine. Y. Enter. Now it is trying to install. I'm just showing you. Till now we have installed on Ubuntu, right? So I'm trying to show you that Hadoop 3.x on Ubuntu as well, Red Hat as well. So you can install Ubuntu. You have Cloudera on CentOS, and you have a Red Hat. So all three versions you are able to install Hadoop, right? So if you type Java space hyphen version. Wonderful. Now, where is this Java located? It's in alternatives Java. Now your Java is in now if you type JPS, it should show the Java process ID. The same thing again. Copy this Java ID and paste it in ETC environment. Add user Hadoop, add group, and then what you do is Hadoop download archive. Hadoop download archive. What's the download archive? Index of this core. You have all these versions, right? Try to select any Hadoop 3.1.1 or 3.1.0 if you see. Control plus 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 301 302. Extract this. What are the steps you have done in 2.x version? 4-site.xml, map red, and everything. Try to do the same thing. And then start the cluster after formatting. Check whether Hadoop 3.x is running or not. Can you give a try today on all the EC2? All of you? Yes. Perfect. So this is the assignment, and also try to complete that project, mini project till partitioning bucketing table. Few portion of analysis is there. Tomorrow we will do that. Few people have issues on partitioning and bucketing like multi columns and how to retrieve that. That one, map reduce, and if possible, I will try to do Cloudera explanation also tomorrow. Right? Thank you all. Data